Hi you guys, I'm back. Really not sure how to use the Facebook Live real good yet. So when I get a phone call, it just kind of boots me off or it goes on pause. So if you guys know how to fix that, maybe just let me know. So I'm just doing a quick video on how to cover a cake with fondant. I mixed up last night some Liz Merrick fondant. Liz Merrick, she's got the best fondant recipe. So you can just Google her to get her recipe, and she also has a video, Artisan Cake Company. So if you wanted to use this recipe. Yesterday we did our tiers. I did a video on frosting them, torting them, and they've been chilling overnight. So I just warmed this up in the microwave real quick. Just one tip too, working with white fondant also, but I'm just going to clean my mat off a little bit with some alcohol. And, you know, because you can scrub it good, but it always seems to be little bits of color and stuff that kind of gets on the mat. So it's just a neat little tip to wash your surface down really good. I mean, I've washed it twice, and look at all that's come off using the alcohol. Just for the folks that don't know, this is a neat little tip. And any residual color or anything like that just comes right off. And it dries real quick too, because it's alcohol. And it's early for me. I didn't get a ton of sleep, so I'm not sure how well this live video is going to come out this morning. But, so, I'm just real quick need some of this fondant. And I'll grab my cake out of the fridge too so it can start to warm up a little bit. I have 4 cakes to cover actually this morning. Let me just grab out one of the cakes. So I have an 8-inch, and it's nice and firm and chilled. So I'm just going to set this aside for now. I'll just give you a quick tip on how to do your measurements. You'll take your diameter, which is 8, and then you'll go up on your height, 9, 10, 11, 11 and a half. So it's 8, 11, 12, 13, 14, because you measure both sides. So you'll need a diameter of fondant that's 14 inches, just so you can cover it. I always go a little bit bigger, because I seem to do better if I have a little bit of extra fondant. I don't get as many wrinkles and folds in the sides. So, I'll get my morning workout here. I don't have a scale or anything, or, I mean I do have one, I just don't have it weighed out. I can just tell by, because I've done this so many times, about how much fondant I'm going to need. I probably am going to need just a tiny bit more. And this is Liz Merrick's marshmallow fondant recipe. I believe she has a couple different recipes. So I'm just going to pop this in the microwave real quick, because as I'm working with it, it's kind of getting little dimples and stuff in it. So I'm turning around if you can't hear me. I'm just going to put it in for like 20 seconds. Another tip, always keep some shortening right by your right by where you're working, so you can keep your hands moist. So I'm just going to warm this up a tiny bit, and it just makes it more pliable, easier to work with. There we go. It's nice and warm now. And I've used quite a few different brands of fondant. Not a ton, there's a lot out there. There's a few I'd like to try also. I'm just kind of incorporating a little more shortening as I'm kneading it. And that also helps to get the icing nice and soft and pliable. It helps to keep it from tearing and ripping. But yes, you definitely get a good workout. Upper body workout anyway. So I can tell now as I'm incorporating some more shortening into it that it's really starting to stretch. And it's getting there. I could have had this all ready before we started. Also, another thing that I do, I add a little bit of glycerin. I don't know if I have a bottle out here. Might have one somewhere. I add a tiny bit of glycerin. Here it is. It's from Wilton. Just add a tiny bit of glycerin. I've already put some in it when I made it, but I'll just put a tiny bit more in. That also helps to make it a little more pliable. I'll just work that in also. Now my cake is really cold, so I'll put the fondant on it, and then I'm just going to leave it sit out so it can kind of come to temperature. And I'll keep an eye on it, because sometimes if your cakes are too cold and you put your fondant on it, you get air bubbles, and you gotta kind of keep an eye on it. Another tip too in prepping your cake is you can cover it with a little bit of shortening if you wanted to help the fondant stick, because right now nothing's going to stick to it. It's just too cold. And this is what I was talking about yesterday with my with the Swiss buttercream. I mean, it's not coming off on my hands or nothing because it's cold too, but it sets up beautiful. But again, I don't work too much with American buttercream. I'm just not a shortening based buttercream fan, personally. Even though I grew up on it, I just prefer icing that's not as sweet. Okay, so this is ready to go. I'm going to get my big pin here, fondant pin. I have a couple different sizes. Always wipe it off before you start. There's been a couple times where I just get everything ready, get the fondant all warmed up and ready to roll. I don't wipe off my pin and I start rolling, and right away you get a streak of color or something. That's a little stressful. I'm just going to give it a little push. I hope you guys can see okay what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to slowly start working it. I'm just going to do a little bit turns at a time because I like to try and keep the fondant a nice circle shape. If I keep going one direction and then turn it halfway and then another direction, I'll get more of a square versus a round. And yes, this is how hard us cake decorators work. You know, we work hard to do shopping, get all your ingredients, and bake and clean, and unless you have people helping you. I don't really have too many people. I have my husband and my daughter. I'm just going to put a little more sugar down, not a ton. So I'll just measure real quick just to see if I have, what was it, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 14. So it's 14, so I'm just about there. Like I said, I'd like to go a little bit bigger. That looks good. Actually, I don't want to put my pin too far away. I'm going to need it again. I'm just going to give it a quick smooth with my smoother too. I don't see any air bubbles. Sometimes when you roll it out, you get little air bubbles and stuff in it. So I'm just going to smooth it a little bit now. Look for any imperfections or bubbles or... And this, I have the 2 cake orders I'm doing today. This one is a quilted. And I'm just going to put this on, and then I'm going to do a quilted pattern on it. And then I'm going to airbrush it. It's going to be a light purple. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit on here and keep it from sticking. And roll it up and get it out of the way for a second. And then this cake is already on its own cake board. I just put it on the larger cake board so I could carry it better. I'm just going to real quick Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a little water on it first. And I just rub some water on my hands and go all the way around. And also, as the cake's warming up too, and incorporating a little bit of water and just the heat of my hands, it helps to smooth the cake out too. You know, you can rub out any bumps. You can fill in any holes, you know, little dents or divots. But you do want it to be tacky, but you don't want it to be dripping. I'm just taking off a little bit of the excess. Too much moisture too, you'll get bubbles in your fondant. At least I do. So it looks good. I'm going to push this off. Try and do this without running my knife through my cake. And see, it's still nice and cold to where I can still move it around and manipulate it. Now I'm just going to unroll the fondant right on top of the cake. There we go. Before I do anything, I try and get it lined up. I just use my hand to get it started. Always clean your smoothers. Let's give it a good smoothing on top. And then I just start around the top. You don't want to just start yanking on it. You want to adhere the top to the very edge. I'm doing that first. Excuse my hands in the way. That's another reason to keep your nails nice and short. Your fingernails will go right through the fondant. And also, as the cake starts to warm up, the humidity of it will start to make the fondant sticky on the outside. So I really want to try and get this on pretty quick. You know, not racing, but... So I'm just taking my hand in a circular motion. And I'm pulling gently the pleats out and pushing down. And I'm just using my pinkies to kind of attach it at the bottom. See, like right here, see how it would fold? That's what we want. Want to get the air out, push the air down and away from the cake. And then do small circles to help it adhere to the side of the cake. And then once we get it adhered, then we can go over it with our smoothers again. So I'm just going to do this quick video on this one tier. I might do another one today because I have to, I have to do 2 of these cakes with a 6-inch chopper. So I'm going to put some dowels in. I'm not sure if anybody's interested in seeing that, but I could come back and do it if you were interested. Haven't looked at my chat, so I don't know who's here. But hello, hello. Good Friday morning here in South Carolina. I'm just going to trim off the excess. I'm not going too close to the cake yet because I do want a little bit of extra fondant to work with if I need to. Now this tier is not sitting on another tier, it's just going to sit on a cake board. It's going to be real quick. See, excess has some sugar on it, so I just want to work a little bit of shortening into it before I put it back in the bag. It only takes a second. And I'll show you real quick. What I do is my shortening container, and the cake's still cold, so I can still pick it up and move it around. I put it on top of a container like this, and then hopefully you can see. Then I kind of just start working it. Got to be careful of your left hand. I'm right-handed, so my left hand's always on top of the cake. I have noticed sometimes that I've left handprints in the top of my cake. So I got these awesome smoothing pads. They're from, what's her name? Shireen's. Let me see if I'll show it to you. If I said that right, darling. These are fabulous. And they were only like $11, $12. I got a whole bunch of them. I got rectangles and squares and circles. And yesterday, after I got done with you guys and I did my final smoothing on the buttercream, I went through with these and smoothed out the final coats of my frosting also. So now I'm just kind of pushing the air out. And I'm not pushing too hard on this end either. Now the sharp edges, I'm still working on. I'm not real good at doing sharp edges. So, I mean, I try and do everything they tell me to do. And I guess I just have to keep practicing. So I will show you real quick 2 methods that I try to get sharp edges with these smoothers. I'll just try and turn it so you can see. You just kind of go right along. I'm really not sure how the top looks. And this is one way you can do it. And then everybody knows the videos where you use your other smoothers and kind of push one edge to the other and work these. And then there's the upside down method too, which I'm actually going to try and do on this cake. And I've got a little bit of an imperfection here on this. Not sure if you can see it. Right there. And I can tell just by looking at it that I didn't work the fondant good enough in that one spot. So, but I'm not going to worry too much about that now because the cake's starting to get sticky. The fondant's starting to get sticky. So I'm just going to real quick check the bottom of it and see if I need to trim off any fondant. I have to get right down and look. And just on this side I need to trim off a little bit. And some of the Swiss buttercream is coming out too. But I did cut it pretty good, so I could just push it right over. Alright, now I'm going to flip it over. Again, save your cake boards because these are perfect for doing stuff like this. My thing with this cake board is it's got that little hole in it, so I know it's going to leave an indentation. But I'm putting another tier on top of this one, so that's okay. We'll never see it. Yeah, careful. Pick it up. Flip it over. There we go. And also now I can see if it's attached to the bottom all the way, because this is the bottom of my cake. And it's a little bit easier for me to trim it too. I have to be careful now because I'm picking up a little bit of buttercream. I have to keep washing off my smoother. Okay, let's see where I put my scissors. I don't see them. Well, here they are. I'm just going to real quick trim some of this off right in here because it's a little too much on that section. But not bad. I mean, that little piece is all I trimmed off. Now I'm going to work using the smoother and a little bit of sugar. Let me just feel the fondant to see how sticky it is. And just rub a little sugar on there. You don't want to try and smooth sticky fondant. You will tear it. So I'm not trying to bring down this fondant here at the cake board. I'm actually trying to push from in here down. What I'm trying to do is just guide my smoother around and try and coax that fondant down a little bit farther. Like the upside down method we did using the Swiss buttercream, our crumb coats yesterday. I'll just put a little more sugar. I don't want to use a ton of sugar. I mean, you probably might have an easier way to do this. You might not even need to do this depending on what cake. Right here, there's a little bit of a spot. I really want to try and get that to come down. I'm just going to coax that down a little bit. A little more sugar. This cake smells delicious. Vanilla and smells very good. Usually what I do is, after I get my fondant on, I let the cake sit out, and I let it come to temperature along with the fondant. And then when the fondant starts to dry again a little bit, and the moisture's gone out of it, then I feel comfortable enough to put it back in the refrigerator. A lot of people say don't, but I have to here because it gets so humid. But I guess it all depends. I'm putting it back on a different cake board. I already pre-made a cake board for this, so. But this is just a temporary, so I can flip it back over and see how the top looks. I'm just wiping off some of the excess sugar. I'm not too worried about this spot here because this is the image my client sent me, just with different colors. So the bottom tier is going to have lots of elements on it that I can cover with it, cover this hole with. So there it is. That's just real quick on how to smooth and cover a cake using fondant. If you guys wanted to order some of these too, just let me see. She does have Facebook, and I don't see an email address. Let me just pull this out so you guys can just look real quick if you wanted to get some. But they're fantastic. I'll just hold this up so you can maybe copy it. So contact Shireen's. Here we go. Shireen's Cakes and Bakes. I don't know, maybe you can do like one of those snapshots. Hey, Nick's here. Jack Puccio. Hey, Jack. Donna. Hi, Donna. And my aunt's here. Hi, how is everybody? It's early here. I just wanted to quick show everybody how to cover a cake with fondant. It's a really neat way to get a finished look on your cakes. So, and real quick, I'll show you what I did before I started the live video. And, this is the cake board that this cake's going to sit in. So I took a cake board, I cover it with some fondant, and then I just do some impressions. So, and I'm going to glue some feet on the bottom. And then once this is dry, I'm going to set this cake on top of this, and then a smaller tier on top of this cake. And this one has like a bowling ball and bowling pins that I'm going to be putting on it. They're just different colors. See, it's got 2 bowling pins and a bowling ball. I'm making these out of Rice Krispie treats. So, and it's going to be a really awesome cake. It's for a little girl named Gracie. So any questions before I go, because I have to do 3 more of these cakes, just send a quick note. And thank you so much, you guys. I appreciate you stopping in. Okay, bye.